So I chose this room because one of your characters is kind of like a rock and roll in this book. Like a rock and roll chicken.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Because I was looking around and I was like, most of the characters I do are pretty emasculated.
Yeah, Gary would fit real well in here.
Yeah.
He'd just be wiping sweat off drummers.
Actually, it'd be a good stress relief if you give him a thing of drums. I mean, Selena's pretty abusive. So he needs a set of drums in his house. That's going to be a new plot point.
Thank you. Well, I hear, do they do stuff from real life? I was watching that THR roundtable, and I think that was one of the questions they asked. Did they ever take things from your real life and add it in?
Oh yeah. Man, if they do, I have a sad life with Buster Bluth and Gary Walsh. That's a sad existence. Yeah. No. You know what they do? Like when we were doing Veep, we would kind of tour around DC, and we would pick up on kind of the way they were talking and different things that were kind of the young interns were saying, or kind of political, lingo, jargon. That's the word I'm looking for. Political jargon, and then they'd add that into the show. Yeah,
that's interesting.
So like, remember Matt Walsh and Timothy and Reed went somewhere in DC, and they heard these kind of executives talking, and it was this really interesting term, which I don't know if I can say on camera.
Go for it.
Called pencil fucked, where you take where you take a speech and it's set, but at the very end someone comes in and just says you can't say this, you can't say this, you can't say this.
Gotcha.
And it's called pencil effed.
You can say it.
And
it's the internet.
And so we use that in the show.
What would I thought you're swearing? What would Gary's swear word be? Because it's HBO. You guys.
Oh, Gary, I don't. Well,
would he ever swear? Probably not.
I don't know. Gary's a pretty glass half full person. Like, he hears so much swearing from Selena that I think he just tries to detox with nice language. He's like, he'll go home and just probably watch My Little Pony on loop.
Or read your book.
Or read my book.
Look at that segue.
Look at that segue.
So the gestation of this book, because I read it this morning and I thought it was great. I love the the Nestflix that comes in his mail.
Yes,
that was awesome.
Well, it kind of came from, I'm doing this book, Archibald's Next Big Thing, and it comes out in August, and it really came from, I've been an actor for over 20 years. And in this business you're always finding yourself going, what's next, what's the next gig, what's that? And many times I find myself, I'm so focused on the next adventure, I'm missing the adventure that I'm on. I'm missing where I am. And so it's about a little chicken named Archibald, who's a bald chicken. And he gets a card in the mail that says, your big thing is here. And he's like, where? And so he goes on all these adventures to find his next big thing. But every time he's on an adventure, he's like, I got to get to my next big thing. And there's this little bee that travels with him. And then in the end, he realizes, obviously, that his big thing really is here. And the bee teaches him a valuable lesson.
Back to the THR roundtable. That's you mentioned something about it in the middle of it, and that's kind of where the whole interview went.
Yeah, and because when I first booked my first job out here was Arrested Development, and all I ever wanted in life was a sitcom. That's all I ever wanted, and it was a fantastic job. Arrested Development was just an amazing gig, but I'd given it so much expectation, that big thing, that nothing can match that. And so I got it, and I was like, oh, I should be feeling differently, but it's because if you're not practicing contentment where you are, you're not going to be content when you get what you want. And so I had not been practicing contentment my whole time in New York, thinking that big's coming. I was never practicing being present. And so ever since that job, and during that job, I really, as my friend says, you have to wake yourself up 100 times a day to where you are.
Are you able to do that? That's hard to do.
I'm not good at it. Let it be known, I'm not good at this. It's a daily, and I do think contentment and practicing being present is a discipline. Like, I'm not good at it. And so I have to wake myself up to saying, I'm having an awesome conversation right now in front of a drum set, as you do. And it's like you have to wake yourself up. And so this is Archibald's lesson of, he's so focused on the next big thing that he's missing the big things around him.
Was it therapeutic to write? Like, were you trying to, like,
you know what, it was very therapeutic, and it's also, it's something that I really believe in. I want my daughter, because, kids are always like, what's next? And granted, it's not to say ambition's wrong and dreaming is wrong. I mean, obviously. But it's also like, hey, where are we now? Like, what's going on now? And I really believe in that because it's something I have to learn. So this book has been super fun doing. It's a message that I really believe in, and so to be able to write a book and say, hey, I really believe in this, that's just fun. And that's what life's about.
Mm-hmm. As a writer now, I guess.
Yeah, that's weird.
Is it?
No, it's not. I mean, It's cool because it happened very organically because it's an experience I had, and then we wrote it into this children's book, and I met this guy named Tony Biagni, wrote the book with me.
Do you only work with Tonys? That's your...
I only work with
Yeah,
Tonys.
okay.
Sorry.
That was a
Sorry,
bad
friends
joke.
of the
I just
world.
couldn't resist.
So I met this guy, Tony Biagni, and he's a great writer, and he helped me come up with the story. And then this guy named Victor Huckabee and this girl, Misty Manley, illustrated it. And it just was this very organic process and just fun. And I'm super proud of it.
I heard something about the whale that I want to...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I wish I had a camera
Yes.
to take pictures. And I love that because I talk to so many bands.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
kind of appropriate with the room.
Yeah.
But they all talk about that whole thing with the cell phones when they're on stage, and everyone's watching a show like this now as opposed to just basking in the moment. And I love that you're teaching that to kids in the moment.
Yes, he meets a character on one of his adventures called Ronald Spoutfly, who's a big whale.
The names are awesome in this book, too.
And he does fountain art out of his spout. And it's gorgeous, and Archibald is like, this is beautiful. And he says, I wish I had a camera. And Ronald says, why don't you blink and let your mind take a photo instead? And so he blinks and perfectly stores it away for later.
I love that. And I hope that message permeates to the kids, because it won't,
Granted,
but I hope it does.
It's also something that as a father, I mean...
Do you notice it? Yeah.
Yes, I'm with her all the time, and I'm like, let me get this picture. And I'm like, wait a second, why can't I just be here and experience it? Because I think it's, for me, a lot of it's based in anxiety and kind of like, I have to capture this, I have to remember this. And it's like, oh, just be and trust that, if you're present, you will remember it. Because I will say, most of my life, I think I was checked out. I was kind of somewhere else and kind of, just not very present. And I don't remember that. So I think if you are present and you wake yourself to where you are, I think you actually do remember things better.
Isn't it the opposite of what you're trained as an actor, is to be present?
Oh, totally, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm doing exactly what I shouldn't be doing as an actor. Checked out.
Talking about being present, though, what, I guess everything's recorded, though, at the end of the day, so you could go back and watch it, but is there any, such a typical actor question, I apologize.
No, I love it.
Okay. What scene really hits you and resonates that you're so happy that scene happened? That moment?
Oh, man.
Any show, anything ever?
Well, it's different things. Like on Veep, for instance, working with this cast, like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, is when you're working with another comic actor and actors like Matt Walsh and Timothy Simons and all these guys, when you trust their comic sense and when you have that faith, it's like you ride the wave together. And so when you really feel like you're just catching each other's joke and you're able to give it back, and there's nothing like it. It's an energy that's a very present moment because you're feeling that and you're both riding that together.
Do you remember when that clicked for you on Arrested? Because that was your first gig, is what I was hearing. Like the first time you were really.
I will say, even though I learned a lot of lessons on that show, that cast was crazy good. And so when you're working with Jeffrey Tambor and Will Arnett and Jason, and Jessica Walter, whose comic timing is brilliant. You're surrounded by these people who are so skilled at what they do. So when I kind of gained some confidence of like, okay, I can step into this pool of people, it was just, there was such a faith there. Because, I think we've all had, actors out there have had an experience where you're working with someone and they're just not giving back to you what you need, or they're not catching the joke, or whatever, they're just kind of not, the rhythm's not there and the chemistry's not there. But with Arrested and Veep, it's just always that faith that it's going to be there, and that's a gift.
What do you do as an actor when it's not there? Do you wait for the director to come in and hope that he or she is able to?
That's when I have, because that's happened to all of us, and I'm sure somebody might say that about me, like Tony just wasn't there or whatever.
Everyone has their days.
Everybody has their days, but if I'm with somebody that I feel like we're just not clicking, that's when I just say, you know what, that's when those boundaries and.
I think we're good.
That was a cool sound.
Yeah, it's different.
Anyways, so it's that kind of, when you have that, like with Arrested, their skill set is so strong that it was just, you stepped in and you're like, wow, there's just a foundation of trust. And that's when you can relax and say, oh, now we're going to have a good time. Oh, but your question was, when somebody's not there.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of I have to watch my boundaries. I have to say, I can only control myself and do the best I can. And just do they have what they need from me? So like, rather than me going, oh, they're not giving me this, it's like, wait a second, am I giving them enough? Am I giving them what they need?
Has anyone ever asked you that?
Ask me
to give more or something like that?
Sure. Yeah. Like if we're doing a bit.
Any actors are watching it, like it's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's that thing of, hey, can we try this? And the whole thing is, there is a director, and you have to watch that you don't take the director role. So technically, like you'll bring the director and say, hey, can we try this? Can we try this? Rather than like you do that. It's like let's have this would be fun. You know.
Oh, Finding Buster.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for a role like that? Where you're just like, this is not even a human.
I know he's not. He's pretty much a cartoon character.
Yeah.
Buster
Is that okay? Is that where you went to cartoons?
You know, I get that. I've gotten that question many times, and I never feel like I have the right answer because it scares me how natural the character came, and I'm thinking, oh crap, that means I am effed up. But you know, the way he was written, he was obviously a big mama's boy, and he was really just. I mean, I've said this a lot, but he was really just kind of a 7-year-old in at the time a 32-year-old body. So he just was very childlike and very, I would even say a 5-year-old. I think 7's too old. He just was incredibly codependent with his mother. He had all this information, but he didn't know how to implement it into life because he did all these graduate studies, but he just didn't know how to function. I don't know, he was just kind of just attached to his mother, and he was terrified if he left her. And it's something that she instilled in him. Like it was, what's that Munchkin's disease, Munchkin's, where you keep a child sick so that they stay close to you. It was in that movie Sixth Sense. I bet she had a little bit of that. Like she probably kept Buster really sick so that he would never leave her side.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And crazy.
And awful.
Yeah, and awful. How do you get back into character 7 odd years later? Was that hard or was it easy?
You know, it wasn't, actually I was nervous about it because it had been 7 years and and talk about expectation, I didn't know what people were going to expecting if we would be able to, you know, step into this again. But I will say once my first day was the day that everybody was on set, which was very rare. So everybody was on set, and when I heard Jessica Walter's voice, which was a very patronizing, like Buster, just like really like
That was pretty good.
it was just like really just then it was just like riding a bike again. Then I was like, I'm back in mama's boy's back.
Did they give you the full, because I don't know how you prepare for a script for a show like that when everything is just, you need all the episodes to understand it.
You know, every day I had no idea what was going on, which kind of made it fun. We would always just go to Mitch and we would say, Mitch, so what's happening right now? What's doing this? And he'd go, okay, this, because he had this like matrix in his mind, and he was like, okay, so this is where this is going, this is where it's going. I was like, okay, got it. So what am I doing now? Got it, great. And I had no clue what was going on. And I mean, honestly, on Veep too, many times we read the script, but it's so much, they shoot it, I love, it just kind of has a real chaotic feel to it, like people are coming in and out. So I like that kind of chaos of energy, where it's not, it's focused, it's a very chaotic, it's a very organized chaos, but it's still chaotic.
Different from Veep though, from what I read.
Veep is very scripted. Very scripted. Those writers work
But
very,
after you
very
guys
hard.
kind of...
But after everything's set and kind of fun, then it's just kind of play.
That's what our question was before the thing started.
Yeah.
Right, there it is.
That it's just a playground.
The playground and how that all works
and
as an actor.
Veep is very much of a playground. And the great thing about Veep, one of the great things about Veep is there's absolutely, and not that we don't all have a little bit of ego, but there's just not, it doesn't feel like there's any ego in the room. And everybody is, especially Julia and Armando, they just want to make the best show possible. So, because many times when you go, this is not working, they're like, okay, what are your ideas, or how can we make this gel, or where's the chemistry, and writers come in and say, how about this, and it's just a real playful environment rather than like, this is my bit, and this is my bit, and this is my writing, and you have to do this, and it's like, no, like, let's forget the entitlement, let's forget the ego, let's make the best product possible. And that's the environment, that's the vibe.
Where would you like to see Gary go? I mean, he tried some things this season.
I don't want Gary to go anywhere. I want him to stay right by Selena's side.
No, I mean, as a character,
as
like character development.
As ever. Where do I want Gary to go? You know, I will say, when this show ends, I would love for him to just have one day where he just blows up. Like because Dan and Jonah and even Selena, even though he worships the ground she walks on, they're so verbally abusive to him, and they're so condescending, and they forget about him. Like he's that, what am I thinking of? He's that that person that he's like Anne on Arrested Development. I don't know if you remember Anne Michael, who was just like, oh, Anne's here. Like she was always forgotten. Gary's a little bit like that. Like he's just, everybody's like, oh yeah, you're in the room? Oh, you know, and so it's a smoke monster again.
It is. Okay, so this is the last time we shoot here.
No, but it's, he's just kind of forgotten. And I would like, they're so passionate. I would like one day he just lets loose and just goes batshit crazy and just starts going off on them and just goes on a rant.
That should be your Emmy thing when you both win this year. Instead of doing what you did last year, you should just explode on her on stage. Have her bring you up.
Oh man, I don't know. That anyways, that whole Emmy thing is so. It's so
hard to think about, or
no,
or
it's
fun?
so like fun, but it's. I never thought I would be on that list. You know, I remember last year when they gave it to me, it was such an out of body experience. And you know, this business is so chaotic, and we're all looking for a job, and you know, it's hard to stay present, and then you get there and have a night like that, and you're like, what? Like, wait, this is, you know, I had years in New York, and still it's just like, can I give a job? You give me a job? Like, I'll do this. And so to be on that list is like, wait, this is. It's just so out of body and awesome. It's crazy.
Does it change that? I mean, everyone always hears when you get that award, all the scripts come in you.
No, I mean, I think to be on a show is the gift. I mean, you know, it was just an honor. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's been a great year, and I've been able to do other work, but it's, I don't know. It's, yeah, I guess it. I don't know if it changed. I don't know.
That's a good question. That's how we'll find out.
But I mean, it's more. It's just been. It's one of those things that. Talk about a moment. Talk about like, that was a moment. That was something that, next to getting married and having my daughter, genuinely, it was like one of those like, what the? This is amazing. You know.
Is her name in the book? Did I notice that?
Her name is Lloyd.
Is one of the characters.
Her name is one
of
Archibald's sister, Lloyd. And my friend who told me you have to wake yourself up 100 times a day is Calhoun, who's the dinosaur.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah.
I like the dinosaur on the roller coaster.
It's great, right?
I feel like a 4-year-old right now. I like this part of your book. Anyway.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like, well, I've been reading to a lot of kids lately. Not that I don't have any, but friends' kids and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice when I'm like, okay, I can bring this to their house. And
Yeah.
It's a good gift is what it is.
Hey-o!
I'm going to let you go because I've taken up a lot of your time.
No, you haven't. Ask me whatever you want.
Well, I'm almost done. Okay, fine. You want to keep talking about Lost? What did you think of the finale?
Okay, so let's talk Lost. So I loved Lost. Mm-hmm. And I was one of those guys, I had never had any idea what was going on. And I was always like, wait, who's the guy underneath in the steel? Like, what's the ticking clock? And who's the smoke monster? And why? I was always that guy. And I remember one time I was reading some reviews and I saw the word flash forward, okay? And I was so pissed off because I had missed a few episodes, and I wish I never saw that, because do you remember that scene where Kate and, what's the lead guy's name?
Matthew Fox. I can't remember. Charlie? No, that's not another show.
Matthew Fox, that guy.
Yeah.
He is there, and so a girl gets out of the car, and I go, that's Kate. Because I'd seen the word flash forward in the press, and I was like, damn it. So I missed that moment. But it was the show that I never knew what was going on, but I couldn't get enough of it. And shows like, I won't name names, but shows that are that kind of action and suspense, there's a lot of them I can't watch because it's too real. It's too much. There's a part of me that's like, yeah, this is going on somewhere. This is not entertaining. I could watch CNN. Like, it's like, that's not entertaining for me. But since Lost had that fantasy element to it, I was able to enter into it easily.
It's the only show where my friends are still polarized. Some people hate the ending. I'm like,
okay,
you know,
back
it was
to the
all right.
ending.
I get it.
Yeah,
but
back to the ending. It didn't bother me because I kind of went into it going, I already have so many questions that I don't know what the hell's going on. And I don't really care because it's just a fun ride. So even though it ended in like a church in this like kind of Unitarian situation, I was like, all right, that's another question to add to my list. I don't know what's going on.
That's interesting.
But it was just kind of fun. It's a fun ride.
Are you able to separate yourself watching TV?
No.
Like as an actor?
No.
Or are you criticizing performances and watching like...
No, to your question, I have a difficult time disengaging from, like Lost, I could engage because it's a fantasy and it's like,
So
oh, this
far
guy's
out there.
So far out there. But something like
House of Cards, A True Detective. How about that?
House of Cards I can
like
watch
those.
because he breaks the fourth wall.
Right.
Because
Okay.
he will talk to the audience, so I'm like, oh, I can disengage. and enjoy it. But something like, I don't know, Homeland or something like that, which is, about Homeland security, it's hard for me to disengage from that because I'm like, that's going down somewhere. And it's not something my wife loves it. It's not something I can enter into so easily. Which makes it make sense to me. My wife's like, you're an actor. Don't you know this is? But I don't know. You're
able to still keep the fantasy, though. That's cool.
It's hard for me to, especially when kids in peril are involved. Like if I'm watching something and kids are hurting or something like that, I'm just like, I can't. Like first episode of Game of Thrones when they pushed the kid out the window, I was like, okay.
Spoiler.
Sorry. But I was like, okay, that's hard.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that, I have a hard time with.
What about watching your own performance? Do you ever watch them?
I do watch my performances. I think my characters, hopefully, are so different than me, by the grace of God. I can just kind of be like, oh, it's actually the hardest things that I have a hard time watching is interviews. So
you won't watch this? Okay.
I'm not going to watch this.
That's fine.
So because that is me, and that's what's the picture of me, and I go, oh. But if it's a character, I'm doing something that's not me, so I can disengage. I mean, I can watch it.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. 5 quick questions.
I love
One
it.
word answer.
Ask me whatever you want.
No, we do the same ones with everybody.
I got time. I'm never in like a cool.
Well, we can play
rock,
drums afterwards or something.
like a rock studio. Never.
Script or improv?
Script.
Stage or screen?
Well, both. A mix.
Okay.
That's like what Veep. There's a mix of both.
Stage or screen?
Man, these are hard because
Every actor gets the same ones.
I say, I've done these past years. I've done more screen, so I would say stage.
Cool. Lennon or McCartney?
Sorry.
Lennon or McCartney?
It's a McCartney.
Hitchcock or Kubrick?
Oh man, there's such good things of both. The you can cut this together.
I don't cut anything. This is all going in. I'm not joking. Well, except for like the
I'd say I just love the twistedness of old school of Hitchcock, the twistedness of Kubrick, the style of Kubrick, but then both of them have style, but different. It's hard. I'm gonna go with Kubrick, but Hitchcock is like classic, so I don't know.
Cool. In one word, Veep.
One word Veep?
One word.
I'd say Veep is one word?
One word.
Dang it. Dang it! I just say fun because I just say fun.
I like fun.
But of course I want to talk about.
Go for it.
There's a side. The thing that I love about Veep that I get on a soapbox about is, people say it is a satire, but again, it goes back to that politics. We put these people on a pedestal, and they have to be perfect, and I'll say the right things, but it's like we're all works in progress. We're all a mess. We're all working things out. So I like that Veep, even though she's made out to be a monster, it shows the reality of the situation. This is a very high-pressured, intense environment. So when you put people who are works in progress in that environment, they have to freak out. They got to lose it. And I like that we show a taste of that rather than, which I still love, I love The West Wing, but this is more of like, let's go behind the scenes and show that these people are incredibly insecure probably, and probably have moments where they're like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And there's people expecting me to do this. Help me. So I appreciate that about it.
Yeah, I feel like, has any of them ever talked to you and been like, yeah, you got it?
Yeah, we've heard that a lot. I don't think, they haven't said like that's spot on by the grace of God, because that would be a really terrifying situation. But I think people who are in the world, I would think it would be a sense of relief, because it's like, yes, like, thank you for showing the rawness, and thank you for showing that we're human, and thank you for laughing at things, I mean, granted, again, hopefully that's not happening specific that way, but it gives them a little more of a humanity.
I'm going to end it there. That was a good way to end it.
Great.
Thanks, Tony.
Oh, that was
perfect timing.
Fantastic. And then this goes.
Yeah. Then I have to pay for that, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's true.